Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video on the Siley Stats YouTube channel. So it's been a little bit, at least in terms of this channel. I think this is my longest streak of not uploading anything, and quite frankly, that's because there just wasn't too much to talk about. I talked about MIT quite a bit, of course, but other than that, there really just wasn't too much more to talk about. Invitationals that happened a while ago hadn't been added to Duosmium, and there just weren't any new invitationals coming out. That is until this weekend. This weekend, I checked back to see if invitationals from this weekend were added, and it turns out there were a bunch of invitationals added. So I added like 10 new invitationals here. And today we're going to go through them rapid fire and talk about every single one. So that might sound like a lot, but it's really not. It's weird. There's so much to talk about and also so little to talk about. Like, on one hand, yeah, there's a lot of invitationals here, but on the other hand, a lot of these just weren't very competitive. So, like, you can see I finally added capital area down here. And up here, I added this one, Mont Academy Science Invitational. And what else did I add? There's MIT. So here we go. University of Wisconsin, and Reisenbeck, and Ohio State University, and Libertyville, and Castile, Siley at Virginia Tech, Bulso, and Seven Lakes. Those last three happened just this weekend. These happened the same weekend as MIT. I think I got all of them. I feel like I'm missing one, though. I talked about Stanford already in my last video. I mentioned the Mont. I think I got all of them. We'll find out. And I think I mentioned Northmount in my last video. I forget how much I talked about this. I think I talked about it a little bit. But just to recap on this one, this matchup really is what we're looking at here is between Mason and Solon. Super scored. This is really close. But apart from Mason and Solon, there weren't any other competitive teams here. Other than Centerville. Centerville's weird, and I really feel bad for them. Because they're actually pretty good, it seems like. Like, in some events, they can stand up to Mason and Solon and take seconds and firsts. But they just, they're in a state with these two hyper-competitive teams consistently placing in the top 10 at nationals. I really just really feel bad for them. Because they, in almost any other state, they would go to nationals. They would be the state champions, quite frankly, in almost any other state. Centerville, I think, got fifth here. I didn't include them for some reason. I guess I just didn't feel like it. But yeah, if you're from Centerville, I really feel bad for you. But anyway, yeah, so Centerville was here, but Mason and Solon here are, of course, going to take, all of the trophies. And this super score might look pretty close. Solon's ahead by 3 points here, super scored, until you consider there weren't really any competitive teams, again, apart from maybe Centerville. Here, if you look, there's a bunch of firsts and seconds and thirds. If there were more competitive teams here, these super scores would be further apart because there's more teams to beat out Mason and Solon in some of these events. So these gaps are going to get further apart. Yeah, I put Solon pretty far ahead of Mason, especially. I was going to say, especially considering their performance at MIT. They didn't go to MIT. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But Mason's performance at MIT, from what I remember, pretty decent, but not really. Yeah, here we go. Pretty decent, but not where you want to be if you really want to beat Solon, especially considering this still fairly recent, January 6th, beginning of the month, considering Solon beat you out right here. So that's all I want to say about Northmount. Again, I tend to talk a lot, and we haven't even gotten to the new ones that I added. So let's do that. Before I do, though, I want to thank you guys once again. Again, I posted my last video, the MIT analysis, on Discord, and it got way more views than I ever would have expected. Yeah, if you're new to the channel, we have a lot of new viewers these days. Make sure you subscribe. If you want to stay up to date with the season, and you don't want to rely on my Discord notifications so you can see my new videos. Make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you can see when I upload new stuff. So let's actually get into this because, like I said, I tend to talk a lot. So capital area region. This was one, if you remember correctly, I was a little annoyed that results for this were not made more public sooner than they were. I was a little annoyed about that because I wanted to talk about this and Northmount at the same time when I talked about Marquette. That didn't end up happening, obviously. But now it's out. We can look at this, and really the main thing, excuse me, the main thing that stands out to me is that Syosset didn't get first. They got beat out by another New York team who, by the way, I don't think we have any other, nope, we don't have any other data on this team. This is their first ever showing beating Syosset. So, I mean, it's possible that this team might, I don't even know how to pronounce this. Let me try. Niskanua. A lot of the New York teams have very difficult team names to pronounce. I only just learned how to pronounce Syosset like a month or two ago. So anyway, yeah. So this team, Niskanua, I'm going to be pronouncing that. I'm probably butchering that terribly. They ended up beating Syosset, which is kind of insane. Again, considering Syosset, if we look at MIT, which is more recent, by the way, by about half a month more recent, happened just last weekend. Syosset gets third here, beaten out by Super Scored Acton Boxborough barely, but we're counting this as third, a tie for third, basically. So I mean, unless this team, Niskanua, unless this team is just insane, and will be the New York State champions this year, I don't think that this was Syosset's A team. I think it's more likely, especially considering this gap, more than 30 points there, pretty significant gap. I think this is more likely their B team. I do not think this is the team that went to MIT. And again, Syosset didn't send another roster here. If I did, I would have included it definitely. I also want to talk about this team. This is South Windsor from Connecticut. They are the Connecticut state champions from last year. If we look, South Windsor, they got 39th at Nationals. Not absolutely terrible, but certainly not very competitive. Super Scored, they get this. They were very unstacked, by the way. Super Scored, they get 221. Not too. I mean, that bumps them up from 13th and 12th to 6th. Still, all these New York teams end up beating them, though. So they'll probably fall about the same place they did last year, maybe a little bit better. So yeah, not too terribly much to talk about here, especially since the results here, if this was Syosset's 18, the results here are almost completely irrelevated by their incredible performance at MIT. Again, absolutely exceeding my expectations for Syosset. So let's move on here. We talked about these already. This is a new one that I've added. The Mont Academy Science Invitational that happened on January 13th. And you'll notice there's almost no one we recognize. I mean, these two teams I recognize the name of. Forest Hill, I think I recognize the name of. I want to see. No, this is our only data on here. I don't know why I recognize Forest Hill then. But yeah, these two teams competed at the last New York Invitational. We talked about capital area here. Not doing great, and then John Jay was the other one. 5th place is fine. 7th place is fine. Not super competitive, though. And then this team, Hicksville. Interesting team name there. This is our only data point on them. So, again, Syosset's not here. Great Neck South isn't here. And this team, which I guess I'll keep an eye on. how did I pronounce this? Niskayuna? Niskayuna? I don't know. They weren't here. So, yeah, not really a whole lot of information gained from this tournament. And then we have Stanford and MIT, which I've already talked about. And then we get into things that happened on MIT weekend or this weekend. So you have University of Wisconsin at River Falls. Again, not really. So the story here is MIT, of course, happened the same weekend as all of these. So none of these invitationals, other than this one, had any competitive teams, really, because all of the competitive teams were going to MIT except one, which you already know the name of. Yeah, so let's just quickly talk about this. University of Wisconsin at River Falls. Mayo, guess is how you pronounce that. Mayo, maybe. From Minnesota, takes first. Menominee from Wisconsin takes second. If we look at Menominee's record here, not great. Not super competitive, honestly. Getting beat out by some other Wisconsin teams, and of course Marquette. Even though they did not do very well at MIT, I think that Marquette is still the much better team in Wisconsin, and definitely still on track to take the Wisconsin state champion title. And then again, just more teams we don't recognize. I had a Boyceville and Belleville on here. They're not super competitive. I just keep track of them because I know they're invitationals. And I also like the way that I think it's the Belleville head coach. I like the way he says Wisconsin. So a bit of a strange reason to keep track of these two teams. But I do it nonetheless. Again, not very competitive. As you can see here. And then the other team, this is kind of interesting. The other team that attended here from North Dakota is Bismarck High School. Of course, we don't have any other data on them, but the only reason I added them here is because they are the state champions from North Dakota with a outstanding 49th place at nationals. Yeah, obviously not North Dakota, not a very competitive state. It's just worth noting that we have some data on the North Dakota state champion now. So we'll be able to, when that state competition comes out, we'll be able to look at this. I think that's all I want to say about this, honestly. Yeah, the state champion in Minnesota is Mounds View, by the way. Mounds View, we only have one data point on them. It's fine, beating not a very competitive, this is Boyceville, actually, not a very competitive invitational here. This is fine. I don't know. We don't really have too much data on Minnesota teams in general, so I can't really say if they're ahead in Minnesota right now. But I mean, considering they went to nationals last year, it's probably acceptable to say that they are. But I really just don't know. Where were we? That's MIT. So we were up here. So yeah, I mean, maybe this Mayo, however you say this school name, maybe, I don't know, maybe they're on track for nationals this year. I really don't know. Again, not a super competitive invitational here. So not a whole lot we can say about that. Moving on to Reisenbeck Aviation Invitational out of Washington. Again, only Washington teams attending. Tesla STEM sweeps this in Super Scored. They absolutely dominate. I'm not entirely sure they were unstacked here. They probably weren't, honestly. I just Super Scored them just in case. But yeah, even not Super Scored, they just absolutely dominate. Interlake here. Tesla STEM, again, the Washington state champion. If we look here, last year nationals 28th, again pretty actually almost exactly middle of the road. I think there's 60 teams, yeah. So very slightly above average, but still not super competitive. So, and again, no teams outside of Washington attending here. And if they did, they did not do very well. Not very notable. So, I mean, yeah, again, just another invitational that was way overshadowed by MIT this weekend. And here we go. So this is the only invitational, other than MIT, of course, the only non-MIT invitational, I should say, that really has a very notable team attending, and that, of course, is Solon. Solon, for whatever reason, did not go to MIT. I'm actually going to check real quick. You're not going to see this in the video, but I'm going to check if Solon went to MIT last year. Looks like no, they did not. When's the last year they went to MIT? I'm going to find this out real quick. Again, you're not going to see this in the video at all, but I just want to know. Unless this will take too long, then I will stop. Yeah, so I'm back to 2021 now, and it doesn't look like I'm back. We're back here. It doesn't look like Solon has attended in the past 3 years. So maybe this is just something they do. They just don't attend MIT. I also noticed they keep their teams unstacked. This might have been stacked. I don't really know, actually. I super scored them anyway, but this gap indicates they might have been stacked. But yeah, for these other tournaments down here, Solon has kept their teams unstacked. And I think last year at their own invitational, like here they were almost certainly unstacked. And then here they were, again, maybe unstacked, probably unstacked. Here, again, unstacked. It is worth noting that at that tournament, I don't know where that was, but here we go. Both their unstacked teams beat both of Centerville's unstacked teams, so that's kind of interesting. Yeah, so this is, again, really the only non-MIT invitational that a very competitive team attended. And again, you got Centerville here. Centerville puts up a decent fight in some of these events. Maybe like, Dynamic Planet, they ended up beating Solon in. And then here we go. Forensics. Solon, really not great at forensics. I think this is a trend for them, actually. I think I remember talking about Solon and forensics at some other invitationals. Yeah, so here Mason kicks their butt in forensics, and then here, okay, so one of their teams got first at Northview. That's interesting. Pretty okay. Centerville beats them there, and then we're back to here. So, yeah, not a super great track record in forensics for Solon. So not really a super big surprise that Centerville can beat them there. But, I mean, again, Centerville does decently in some of these events and outperforms Solon in some of them. So you got to give him some credit there. But again, other than Solon and maybe Centerville, which we already know Solon's better than Centerville. We knew that from, all the other invitationals that they've attended together. Other than Solon, not a very competitive invitational. And again, that's just because it's the same weekend as MIT. Another MIT weekend invitational, this one out of Illinois. Again, Illinois' two really competitive teams, Stevenson and New Trier, they went to MIT. So, of course, they're not going to be here. And we're left with, these teams. I think this team that got first, okay, never mind. I think this team got third or fourth at the Illinois state tournament. Let me check that real quick. Maybe. Okay, maybe not. All right, never mind. So I'm pretty sure this team got a third or fourth at the Illinois state tournament. So again, decently competitive in Illinois, but just outcompeted by the two state giants, Stevenson and New Trier, just crashing down on them. So again, not really super notable here. And this one, Castile, another MIT weekend invitational. This time out of Arizona. I don't think any Arizona teams attended MIT. I might be wrong. I'm checking that now. Again, you're not going to see this on the video. No, it does not look like any Arizona teams attended MIT. So, again, Arizona teams unrestricted to attend this one unconflicted, I should say. Um, let me check. So, how does Arizona do nationally? I need to do it like this. There we go. University was their state champion last year, and not great. 43rd. Again, not the worst, but certainly not very good. Um, and University didn't even attend here. So, again, not really, can't really say anything about this. I mean, we can look at these events, but I don't think any of these teams have any data apart from this tournament. I will check because I feel bad just kind of writing off no. So, I mean, there's nothing to say other than, okay, this team beat this team in this event. Nothing really to talk about here. And finally, we move on to non-MIT weekend invitationals. We have 3 of them so far. There might be some more uploaded in the coming days, which I might make a video about if they're notable enough. But we have 3 right now. The first one, SciOly at Science Olympiad at Virginia Tech. Of course, Virginia State champion Thomas Jefferson High School for Science and Technology. Abbreviations are for WIMPs, so I write out this whole thing. They've attended here. They've brought 3 unstacked teams. I didn't even bother super scoring them here. I thought about it, but I was like, you know what? These 3 teams absolutely kicked everyone's butt here. So there's really no point in super scoring. There were like 2 events that super scoring would have raised their score in, that one of their rosters did not get first in or something like that. Actually, I think there were 6 events. There were 6 events that one of their rosters did not get first in, and super scoring would have raised their score in. So I shouldn't say super. You know what I'm saying. There were only 6 events that one of their rosters didn't get first in. So again, just absolute domination from the Virginia State champion. Again, if anything, this might be the most useful data we've gotten from any of these invitationals that I've talked about in this video so far. If anything, this just kind of confirms that Thomas Jefferson, again, extremely good this year, probably a little bit better than they were last year. Where did they place? I think did they place in the top 20? I forget. They did not. They got 26th. So, again, slightly above average. But I think this year they are on track for top 20, at least top 20. Yeah, again, absolute domination here. Again, this might be the most useful tournament we've looked at just because it confirms that they are in pursuit here of the top 10. Not quite there yet, but strong showing at another competitive tournament might convince me otherwise. Bulso. So this is out of Florida. I actually wrote some tests for this tournament, and we have the results here. So this team, again, I cannot pronounce any of these. I'll do my best. Bushels? Bushels, sure. I think they went to nationals last year. I will check that. Maybe. Oh, right. It's like their other. Yeah, it's weird. This is weird because some of these are commas after the school name, and some of them are periods. So it's kind of annoying. But yeah, they I think were the top team in Florida here. Yes, they beat again Boca Raton Community High School at nationals. I don't know if they beat them at the state competition, considering this gap, probably, but can't say for sure. But anyway, yeah, so they got first here. Decent margin, could be higher, could be worse though. But again, I mean, this is the only arguably competitive team, and they didn't even do that great at nationals. I mean, they did okay. Again, it's just I don't know. I feel bad, again, kind of just writing off these invitationals, but I just don't feel like there's anything to talk about here other than to just say, okay, well, this team beat all these teams in this event, so that means they're good. We don't have any other data for any of these teams, I don't think. I will double check that, of course, so I'm not, Oh, actually, we do. Yes, I just remembered. We have one for Bushels, whatever. I believe this is the same team. I have them as FW Bushels from Florida. Again, very likely just the same team. So, yeah, getting fourth at Rickard's pretty decent, actually. Beat out by Monte Vista and Seven Lakes. Beating William P. Clements and Fulton Science Academy. Um, this William P. Clements, of course, was the second team from Texas to attend nationals last year. Fulton Science is Georgia's state champion. Again, Georgia not super competitive nationally. Clements, what did they get nationally last year? Let's check this right here. They got 16th, so pretty decent. So I don't know. Maybe Florida's on track to do a little bit better at nationals this year. Again, I wouldn't say that this tournament really enforces that because there's really just one decently competitive team here. These others didn't make nationals, so I can't really talk about them, and we don't have any data for them. So, and finally, the last invitational that I want to talk about is Seven Lakes. And interestingly enough, if Seven Lakes took their own tests, because this is their own invitational, of course, if they took their own tests, their results are not shown on Duosmium. Now, I don't expect Seven Lakes to give themselves medals at their own tournament. Solon doesn't do that. We don't do that for Eagle Invitational, for Eagle View or Mountain View. So, or we didn't anyway. We do now because Eagle View and Mountain View are a little less competitive, but that's Div B stuff. I don't talk about Div B very much. But anyway, yeah, I don't expect Seven Lakes to give themselves medals at their own invitational. But I think like Solon, when they take their own tests at their own invitational, they at least show like where they would have placed in those results on Duosmium. I didn't see that for Seven Lakes. So I don't know where Seven Lakes High School ranked here, if they even took their own tests. I do know where Jordan ranks, though. And again, I mean, look at all these first places. Insane. Again, I mean, just reinforcing what we already know. Jordan is the second place team in Texas, beat out by, of course, Seven Lakes. And we know that with certainty here from MIT. Seven Lakes decisively beat Jordan here. Very decisively, in fact, like half their score decisively almost. I mean, the fact that trying to figure out where to put my thing so it's not in the way. I mean, the fact that Jordan got first here isn't very surprising. I guess it's a little surprising how close this is, though. I mean, this isn't super close. It's still almost a 20-point gap, but like for the second place team in Texas to be almost beaten by a team that I don't think we have any. Oh, we do actually. I'm going to assume this is the same team. Yeah, not very, not that great. Beat out by Liberal Arts and Sciences and William P. Clements, and of course Seven Lakes and Jordan. So again, not super competitive, but the fact that this is as close as it is interesting, I guess. Jordan's falling off a little bit, not too much, but maybe an indication that they should step it up a little. And that's really all I want to talk about here. Again, it's kind of strange. This is the first video I've done where it's just a rapid fire, series of tournaments that I'm like, and this one happened, and this one happened, and this one happened. And I don't really feel like there's any analysis here. Yeah, none of these tournaments really told us that much. Again, other than maybe like Seven Lakes and Siali at Virginia Tech, none of these really told us anything. Even Ohio State, where Solon attended, like there just wasn't another competitive team to compare them to, so I can't really do any analysis here. Yeah, and again, all of that is because of MIT, right? Like at least most of that's because of MIT, because all these tournaments happen the same weekend, so of course MIT is stealing all of their competitive teams. But yeah, like I said, that's really all I wanted to talk about. So just to keep you guys updated on the season, all these tournaments came out. I just wanted to talk about them. So thank you so much for watching. Again, if you're a new viewer and you're not subscribed and you want to stay updated with the 2024 Science Olympiad season and how teams are tracking towards nationals, make sure you subscribe. And hopefully that didn't show up in the video. Whatever, there was like a pop-up in my bottom right screen. Whatever. Yeah, make sure you subscribe if you want to stay up to date with the 2024 season. And I will see you guys next time. Have a good day.